The story of the French campaign in Egypt in 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte, a famous French general, led a big army to Egypt. At that time, Egypt was ruled by the Mamluks, but it was part of the Ottoman Empire. Napoleon wanted to control Egypt, cut off Britain as trade route to India, and to make France stronger in the East. The invasion Napoleon arrived in Egypt with around 35,000 soldiers. He fought the Mamluks in the Battle of the Pyramids and won. After that, he entered Cairo and told the Egyptians he came to help them. But soon, the Egyptians began to resist the French occupation. The Battle of the Nile. A few weeks later, the British Navy, led by Admiral Nelson, attacked the French ships in the Battle of the Nile. The British destroyed most of the French fleet. This left Napoleon and his army trapped in Egypt with no way to go back to France. Campaign in Syria in 1799. Napoleon took his army to Syria to fight the Ottoman forces. He won some battles but failed to capture the city of Acre. Many soldiers died from fighting and disease. Napoleon leaves Egypt. Later in 1799, Napoleon secretly left Egypt and went back to France, leaving his army behind. His general stayed to lead the honor. In 1801, the French were finally defeated by the British and Ottoman armies, and they left Egypt. Scientific impact. Even though the campaign failed, Napoleon brought scientists, engineers, and scholars with him. They studied Egypt's history and culture. In 1799, they found the Rosetta Stone, which helped to read ancient Egyptian writing. Their work helped Europeans learn more about ancient Egypt. Conclusion: the French campaign in Egypt lasted from 1798 to 1801. It ended in military defeat for France, but it had a big effect on Egyptian history and European knowledge about Egypt. The French campaign in Egypt, 1798 to 1801, also known as Napoleon's expedition to Egypt. Background: in 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte, rising military leader in France, led a military campaign to Egypt. At the time, Egypt was part of the Ottoman Empire, but it was ruled by the Mamluks, a military class that had become weak and corrupt. Napoleon had several goals: to weaken British influence in the region by cutting off their trade route to India, to expand French influence in the East, to bring the Enlightenment to Egypt through science and modern ideas. The invasion in July 1798, Napoleon's fleet arrived in Egypt. He defeated the Mamluks at the Battle of the Pyramids near Cairo. Soon after, Napoleon occupied Cairo and declared himself a friend of Islam and the Egyptian people. However, the French army faced strong resistance from the people, and Napoleon's promises of respect and progress were quickly seen as empty by Egyptians. The Battle of the Nile. In August 1798, the British Navy under Admiral Horatio Nelson destroyed the French fleet at the Battle of the Nile, near Abu Qir Bay. This victory trapped Napoleon's army in Egypt, cutting off their supplies and communication with France. The Syrian campaign in 1799, Napoleon marched with his army into Syria, modern-day Palestine, Lebanon, and Syria, to fight the Ottomans. He won some battles, like the Battle of Mount Tabor, but failed to capture Acre after a long siege. This campaign weakened the French forces and caused many losses due to disease and combat. Napoleon's secret departure in August 1799. Hearing of political problems in France, Napoleon secretly left Egypt and returned to Paris, leaving his army behind under General Jean-Baptiste Clermont. The end of the campaign in 1800. General was assassinated in Cairo. French forces were eventually defeated by the combined Ottoman and British armies. By 1801, the remaining French troops surrendered and left Egypt. Scientific and cultural impact despite military failure. The French campaign had a major cultural impact. Napoleon brought with him a team of scientists, scholars, and artists called the They studied Egyptian history, culture, and geography. In 1799, the Rosetta Stone was discovered, which later helped scholars decode ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Their work was published in a massive book called Description de Conclusion. The French campaign in Egypt was a military failure, ending with French exposed Egypt to modern European ideas and science, showed the weakness of the Mamluks, and the Ottomans opened the way for future changes in Egypt, including Muhammad Ali's rise to power.